I'm not sure what the draft experience was like for you, sitting there watching all the trades being done, people trading up, people trading back, all the surprise picks that were there. When I say surprise picks, I mean after the first 7 picks, I should say. Who knew that the first receiver off the board was going to be Drake London at 8 to the Falcons? And then who knew that there was going to be an incredible run on wide receivers? And in fact, I offered to you that it was 2 runs on wide receivers, starting with Drake London at 8, finishing with Jamison Williams at 9. Obviously, the Saints and Lions trading up to 11 and 12s, and then the Eagles leapfrogging us not to get a receiver, but to get Jordan Davis. I offered to you there was another run on receivers with Jahan Dotson and Treylon Burks. Obviously, the Titans traded up to 18 to get Treylon Burks. And some of us are disappointed that the Ravens didn't take part in that. There was a part of me who thought that we were going to take a receiver, but the Ravens front office, Eric DeCosta, Ozzie Newsome, all of them, they handled this incredibly well, if you ask me. I think it's clear, it should be obvious to all of us that there had to be multiple contingency plans depending on who was available at 14. Now, the Ravens say they did not field any trade offers, apparently, at 14. I think when they're indicating that, they're saying in that moment, as they have their 10 minutes to make their pick at 14, which ended up being Kyle Hamilton. Me personally, I did not think Kyle Hamilton was going to be the pick. I did not. But I think looking at the entire draft in retrospect, the strategy was clear. The Ravens were always going to trade to get 23. That was predetermined. And you have to give a lot of credit to Marquise Brown, Eric DeCosta, the Ravens front office, whoever knew about it beforehand. I don't know how long it had been agreed upon or when they agreed upon it, but clearly it was agreed upon beforehand with Marquise Brown showing up at the Arizona Cardinals draft celebration or party. So he obviously knew, and the Ravens knew, but they kept it quiet to maximize the deal for the Ravens. A lot of class shown by Marquise Brown on the way out, if you ask me. I don't know if he told Lamar Jackson. I don't know if Lamar Jackson knew about it. I really don't care. These are grown men playing a professional sport, and there's going to be feelings involved because your best friend got traded. Then maybe you're not the person that we think you are. But in my opinion, I think Lamar Jackson's way above that, and if there is some disappointment in his mind, which I'm sure there is, I think he'll get over it quite quickly when he sees the talent that has been brought in. Look, this is a great start to the draft. An incredible start. We got the 2 best players at 2 positions. Kyle Hamilton was the first safety taken off the board. No other safety. The next safety taken in this draft was Dax Hill to the Bengals at 31, which is a great pick for them. It's a great pick. But that tells you something. There were no other safeties drafted. So it's not like there was anyone close to Kyle Hamilton. Now you can say, well, why was Kyle Hamilton taken at 14 when he was originally, some discussion of him being taken 1 or 2 a couple of months ago. I don't know. I mean, there's teams that see things and end up not liking what they see. But I think the Ravens see all the versatility that Kyle Hamilton offers you and that he's capable of impacting the defense across multiple levels. He's in the deep third, in the intermediate areas, playing hook to curl or in the flats, and he's made plays against the run coming forward. I have 5 films of him that I can't wait to watch and create some type of evaluation that's independent of my own pre-draft thoughts. I'm part of my preconceived notions about how this draft was going to go. I thought we were going to go after that slot corner or that safety / corner later in the first round, and I thought we were going to address offensive line from the outside in, meaning I thought we were going to address tackle first and maybe get a hybrid guard tackle like Kenyon Green. The Ravens did it the other way by getting Tyler Linderbaum, essentially building the offensive line or rebuilding it from the inside out. I will be up front that pre-draft and even still I have some concerns about Hamilton's man coverage skills if he's going to be a starting safety in the NFL. I also have some concerns about how he fits in a defense that has Marcus Williams, a clear starter, Chuck Clark, who's been a team captain for years, and then Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. How do we fit it? How do we fit a 5th DB in there? Now granted, a lot of teams utilize 11 personnel all the time. Cincinnati Bengals are one of them. So in that situation, you're going to get that extra safety on the field. Well then, how does Brandon Stevens fit in there? Because he's a talented guy who played a lot of snaps last year. And one thing that impressed me a lot tonight from the Ravens was, obviously this draft was crazy. You had the run on wide receivers, but the Ravens had a plan. Predetermined trade with Arizona to trade back in at 23. Now, I don't know whether the plan was originally to get Kyle Hamilton, because who knows that Kyle Hamilton's going to be there at 14. What if Jordan Davis falls to the Ravens at 14? Do we take Jordan Davis at 14 and then still get Tyler Linderbaum at 23? I do think it's interesting that we didn't trade back under a predetermined trade. We didn't trade back into 27 or 32. We did it at 23. In my opinion, the plan all along was to get Tyler Linderbaum at 23, 24, or 25. We ended up trading back with the Bills, and I'm interested in whether or not there was some type of straightforward, brutal question of the Bills. Look, are you going to draft Tyler Linderbaum? Because that's who we want. I know that the whole draft was chaotic and fun, because it's like who's getting a trade next, who's doing what next. I imagine that it was not for the Ravens. There was the run on wide receivers that started at like pick 8 tonight. My brain and focus round about pick 10, my brain and my focus started to go crazy because pick 8, the Falcons take Drake London. The Seahawks, tried to settle things down by taking Charles Cross with pick 9, and then all hell broke loose. The Jets, who a lot of people had Kyle Hamilton mocked to them at 10, the Jets took Garrett Wilson, and then that had a ripple effect, like a pebble in the Mediterranean Sea that eventually becomes a storm somehow off the coast of Australia. Everything went nuts after that. That little ripple, the Jets taking Garrett Wilson at 10, became a damn tsunami. Or really, it was like 3 storms in one after that. You have the Saints trading to get Chris Olave, and then the Lions. I knew when the Lions jumped back up to 12, I was like, they're going wide receiver. We're sitting there in our Discord that's got all my patrons in there, and every time there's a trade, I'm like, oh, they're getting a receiver. And, of course, I was wrong, half the time or maybe more than half the time. But those 2 picks there went receiver, and they were to teams that traded in. Like I said, the Saints and the Lions. And they did that to me clearly because London being picked at 8 put everyone on notice. Get your wide receivers now before they sell out. Ravens are sitting there after 12 when Jamison Williams is taken, and we're like, oh, we're good. We're good. And then all of a sudden the Eagles jump ahead of us. And that could have shaken someone up. That shook me up a little bit because I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? Why are the Eagles jumping to 13? They're not jumping to 13 to take Jahan Dotson. He's going to be there anyway. They're not jumping to 13, in my opinion, to take an offensive lineman. And Frank, who's in the Discord, is like, I think they're jumping there to take Jordan Davis. Sure enough, they took Jordan Davis because they already got their receiver. They didn't need to draft a receiver. They had A.J. Brown, a trump card. Beautiful use of the draft by the Eagles, if you ask me, and many teams, to be honest with you. The Jets, being the primary one there. But look at the Giants. Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. Beautiful haul by them. Shocking to me when the Eagles traded in front of us. And that tells you, and I'm kind of digressing here, that tells you what other NFL teams think of Jordan Davis and his ability to disrupt what offenses are trying to do. So we're sitting there at 14. Jordan Davis is off the board. We should take Jermaine Johnson now, right? Nope. The need on this team, as a lot of us correctly called, was for a corner or someone who can cover, someone who can cover receivers in the slot. Now, Brandon Stevens is pretty good at covering tight ends, and in some cases running backs. I think he had a pretty good rookie year, even though, he got beat occasionally, but I think he did a lot of things for us and showed his versatility. But this was a move of genius, if you ask me. We clearly are tipping our hand at this point from a scheme perspective by taking Hamilton to pair him with Stevens, Chuck Clark, and Marcus Williams. We're going to see a drastic change in coverage as Ravens fans, meaning we're going to be playing more zone. Totally different from Wake Martindale's system. And drafting Kyle Hamilton, to me, Kyle Hamilton would not succeed as a man-to-man defender in Wink Martindale's system as my brain understands Kyle Hamilton's skills. Now, again, I'm going to go back and watch the 5 games I have of him and seriously question my own notions and my own thoughts and conclusions that I already had about Kyle Hamilton about a month ago. Wink Martindale's scheme was 80%, 90% man, unless the ball was in the red zone, our own red zone, and then he was playing cover 2. But he was reliable. Wink Martindale played man, and teams could game plan against that, and they did. Hamilton provides versatility, not just in how he makes plays. I said about the 3 different levels of the field. I'm talking about depth of the field. He can make plays as a middle of the field free safety, even though he won't be there. Marcus Williams will be. He can make plays at the second level as an intermediate pass defender in zone, and he can make plays in the flats against pass and then coming up against the run. Simultaneous to that, he provides versatility in terms of the coverages that he's able to play. I like it. I like the versatility he provides to Mike McDonald, and this is the key. Teams will no longer be able to reliably scheme against our coverages just based on the formation. Wink was predictable with his coverages. Now, part of that was, we had Marcus Peters, we had Marlon Humphrey, and at the same time, we had a healthy, just slightly past his prime, Jimmy Smith. Look, Wink's coverages were difficult to deal with when you have those three guys. Those guys are so good, they're so badass. They're just better than the receivers they're assigned to cover in most cases. Okay, that's great. But what happens when you face the really good teams? People would take advantage of our coverages. They always did. I'm going to briefly mention some to you. The Titans in 2019 in the playoffs. That second touchdown, the first play of the second quarter, is a play action concept. They took advantage of our inability to play zone, and they went deep, and they beat us up top for a touchdown, take a 14-0 lead. Essentially, the game was over at that point. The Chiefs took advantage of our coverages multiple times in the regular season. We know that. They owned us up until this past year. The Patriots in New England in 2020 in that regular season game that was played in the rain, they attacked us using formations, and they went after our weakest man defender in Patrick Queen. This year, in 2021, Week 7, where the season started to unravel, the Bengals attacked us because they knew our coverages. They outsmarted us. And look, Humphrey played in that game. Obviously, Marcus Peters didn't. Our coverages have consistently gotten exploited by pick or rub or screen concepts, and then formations that we just did not adjust to under Wink Martindale's system. Kyle Hamilton gives versatility to McDonald. He gives him options so that we can be unpredictable as in terms of our coverages, and we can force quarterbacks to take a split second more time to understand what's happening in terms of the coverage, and that could let the pass rush actually get there. It's all related. The coverage and the pass rush are all related. In my opinion, even though we didn't draft the edge rusher, the pass rush got better because we picked up Kyle Hamilton. And that's coming from someone who would not have advocated for drafting Kyle Hamilton prior to about 6 hours ago. We will generate more sacks by rushing less guys and playing zone a higher percentage of the time, in my opinion. Now, Hamilton will have to cover, and I intend to rewatch his college games, the ones I have, to try to determine if he has any physical limitations in coverage. Because sometimes it's a genetic ass whipping in terms of the guy they're asking you to cover. Can Kyle Hamilton cover Jamar Chase? Well, no. Nobody can. Maybe it's two guys in this draft who can match up with him, Ahmad Gardner and Derek Stingley, and they were off the board by number 4. But in any case, let me move on to the other guy that was picked. Look, me personally, again, I didn't want Tyler Linderbaum at 14. Just like I didn't want Trevor Penning at 14. I mentioned Kenyon Green in a video at 14 because of his positional versatility, depending on who was available to us. And that situation happened. Now, the guy who I didn't anticipate falling to 14 was Kyle Hamilton. But a situation I put in one of my videos was, hey, all of these guys are gone. Stingley, Drake London, Jameson Williams, Jordan Davis are all gone. And the only guy there for us to take that's among our big 5 is Jermaine Johnson. And I put the question out to you guys, hey, what do you do? And some of you guys chose to take Jermaine Johnson. Obviously, the Ravens did not for whatever reason. I'm glad for Jermaine Johnson that he fell to the Jets, gets him a chance to play immediately, and we can see how good the guy is. I think he's going to do fine. But in any case, Tyler Linderbaum at 14, I didn't like it. I thought we needed to build the O-line from the outside in, and that was reactionary. Look, we are reactionary as human beings. We see something, and then we react to it to try to correct it. And we all this year in 2021, we saw the Ravens tackles get beat all season and put our biggest asset at risk. I'm obviously talking about Lamar Jackson. I haven't mentioned Lamar Jackson yet because we drafted Kyle Hamilton at 14. Kyle Hamilton does not help Lamar at all, not directly. He helps him by improving the defense. But in my mind, I thought to improve the O-line and protect Lamar and allow Lamar to be at his best, we would have to get an offensive tackle. Someone to push Stanley, James, and Moses, and then I guess Macari was going to be the center. Well, the Ravens knew better. The Ravens decided that they were going to build this O-line from the inside out. And they weren't going to directly address the pass pro on the edges like a lot of us thought they would. The predetermined trade with Arizona to send Marquise Brown. And look, I'm personally conflicted about it because I like Marquise Brown. We drafted him. He's a Raven. Well, he's a Cardinal now, but he was originally a Raven, and I want him to do well. I want him to succeed. I want him to reach his potential. Apparently, he didn't think he was going to reach his potential with the Ravens, and he asked to be moved on, and the Ravens obliged. I don't blame him. He's a spread style receiver, and him going to an air raid system probably benefits me. But again, I'm conflicted about it because he was a good player. We did a lot of good things with him. I wish him the best. In my opinion, that trade was specifically so we could get Tyler Linderbaum at 23. It's pure genius, if you ask me. Absolute genius. Solely designed to get the number one center in the draft. Look, Cole Strange played some guard and center. He was the second center taken by the Patriots at 29 after they traded back at 21. So maybe the Patriots would have taken him. When I say him, maybe they would have taken Linderbaum at 21, but I don't think so. I think what the Ravens did tonight is unique. It's different. Look at the top of the draft. Evan Neal, Charles Cross, Ikem Ekwonu. Those teams are building from the outside in. They're building with the tackles. If you ask me, it's possible the Ravens did the same thing as those teams tonight, just building from the inside out. If Ronnie Stanley's healthy and Tyler Linderbaum is as good as some people think he's going to be, Ravens have one of the top 5 offensive lines in the NFL right now, if Ronnie Stanley's healthy. I would not have predicted the way they did it. I certainly did not think that the trade back into the first round was going to happen this way. I thought the Ravens might start with a tackle if Charles Cross was there at 14. Or, maybe if they trade back, Bernard Rodman or Darian Kennard or something like that. But instead they went from the inside out, and they now had the best center in the draft. And then here's the key. They have positional depth at multiple spots. We already have positional depth at left guard with Ben Cleveland and Tyree Phillips. Tyree Phillips could play right guard too. Now we got McCarry as our, I guess, 4th option at tackle behind Moses, Stanley, James, which continues to be a smart signing if you ask me. We could put Ronnie Stanley on the PUP if we needed to early in the season because McCarry can play at tackle if he's healthy. If you look at 2021 season, McCarry played really well when he was healthy. When he had, I believe it was ankle injuries as he came back to the second part of the year, didn't play as well. Makes sense. Look, even though I would not have predicted this, and I would not have voted for it, we spent hours in my Discord for my patrons discussing the strengths and weaknesses in Hamilton's game. This was not the route I would have gone. This first round strategy and the execution of it, this is elite. Elite. I think the Ravens hit a 5-run grand slam tonight. For real. Picked up 2 guys who are probably the best at their position in this draft. Now, what is that? Kyle Hamilton. Where does he fall in the safety rankings in the NFL right now? I don't know. I really can't tell you. But it really doesn't matter what my opinion is. What matters is the Ravens front office has a certain opinion, and here's the key. What does Mike McDonald think? Not what he thinks of Kyle Hamilton. No. What he thinks of Dax Hill. He spent last year coaching Dax Hill. He knows he's an elite level athlete, extremely versatile, great in man coverage. Smart as hell, tackles well, makes plays on the ball. Why didn't the Ravens trade back scenario involve trading back and getting Dax Hill? Well, the way the draft broke down, the way that the board worked, Kyle Hamilton was there. And for whatever reason, the Ravens chose to get Kyle Hamilton at 14 and then use a different way to build the O-line by trading back in and getting Tyler Linderbaum at 25. Would have been 23, but then they traded with the Bills back to 25. They eschewed working toward Dax Hill in favor of Kyle Hamilton, even though Mike McDonald knows that Dax Hill understands his defensive system, knows all his calls, has awareness and a knowledge base to start ahead of other guys at, and they still chose to get Kyle Hamilton. To me, that says a lot. I'm sure that just like me, you thought it was interesting as hell how it all played out. If you can't tell by now, I think DaCosta and Ozzie Newsome and the rest of the front office, they played this like Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock. Complete virtuoso performance. A great job of adjusting in the moment. Actually, the Ravens weren't just in the moment. I think they were ahead of everybody else tonight. I love the fact that they protected Lamar by getting Tyler Linderbaum and improving the offensive line immediately. Then they can still address tackle again in round 3 or round 4. There's no reason why they can't. But that's my favorite part of this, is that they went first round on someone to help Lamar Jackson. Now, if Charles Cross was there at 14, I think we're all having totally different conversations tonight. I think the Ravens had plans for Charles Cross being there at 14 and Charles Cross not being there. And in this case, they still improved the offensive line without drafting Charles Cross. At this point, Lamar Jackson is the Ravens team. And this move lets the offensive line be put comfortably into the correct role for their level of athleticism. Stanley, James, Moses at tackle, with Makari able to play there if need be. Zeitler, Cleveland, Tyree Phillips at guard, like I said earlier. Linderbaum and Cologne at center. I'm impressed. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Don't fret about what was not taken. Hear me out for a second, okay? Don't be in a rush to judgment with the Ravens, just like everything else in the world, because this is only round one. This is only round one. Don't worry about who we didn't take. Worry about what we gained. This team got better tonight. I know we didn't get an outside linebacker. I hear you. Many people wanted a rush outside linebacker, Jermaine Johnson specifically, and he was there. I think he's going to be a great player for the Jets. They got a haul, like I said earlier. But we didn't need him. We have two starting outside linebackers. Just accept it. We have two starting outside linebackers. Are we going to get 10 to 12 sacks out of both Bowser and Owe? Probably not. But we still have the rest of this draft to go. And there's guys that we can get, maybe released, that can help out with the pass rush. So don't fret about that. All right. Back to my point. There's about the draft still has a long way to go. Rounds 2 and 3 are going to be tremendously interesting. I think the Ravens can hit a home run again. I get it that we didn't go tackle to improve this team. We started in the middle and worked our way out. But think for a moment. If Tyler Linderbaum, let's say he's 90% as good as Jason Kelsey, potentially we have just as good an O-line. If Ronnie Stanley's healthy and Tyler Linderbaum is as advertised, we have just as good an offensive line as we had in 2019. Think about that. If Linderbaum is top 8 center in the league, which he might be, we just got a great shortstop who can make plays on both sides of the infield. That's what a center can do. Run plays to either side. He can impact plays. I know we're in a gap scheme. I'll address more about that later. I don't think the Ravens are going to go tackle in 2 or 3. I think they're going to go tackle in 4. If a guy like Rasheed Walker is there, I think there's a great chance that we get him. Look, there's other ways that this could have been done. The Ravens did this beautifully based on how the board fell up to 14. And the key is we didn't have to give up 45 or 76 to trade back into the first round. Pure genius. Second year in a row. This is now a patented Ravens formula. They did it in, 2018, I believe, or 17, with Hayden Hurst and Lamar Jackson. They're set up to do it again later today, Friday. We got pick 45 and 76. We've still got future assets that we could use if we wanted to. And look, missing Marquise Brown is a real thing. I think he's a good player. As I mentioned earlier, he's going to fit into that air raid system. From that standpoint, I think the Ravens did him a favor on the way out, and he did the Ravens a favor. Kudos to him. Hope he gets 95 catches and 22 touchdowns, but just not against us. If you're more upset about Marquise Brown leaving than I am, because I'm a little upset. I mean, he's a Raven. If you're more upset than I am, just think about this for a second. What if we told you before the draft we would get the 2 best players at their positions in the draft, and we would gain salary structure back by getting rid of someone who may want to be paid a shit ton of money 1 year from now? I think it's an unbelievable win for the Ravens. That was the unanimous opinion of everyone in my Discord tonight. I spent about 5 hours in there talking with a bunch of guys in my Patreon. I hope you had as much fun as we did. That's why my video took so long to produce, because I was still in there talking to them at 2 a.m. We hope to do it again on Friday and Saturday night. I don't know about you, but that hour and a half time period from like 9:30 p.m. Eastern time until around 11 p.m., that was it was crazier than free agency was, when there was a different person getting hundreds of $1 million every other day. Let me know with that outside of commenting on this video, my thoughts on Hamilton and Linderbaum. Let me know what that 90-minute time period was like for you. What was it like watching 80 wide receivers get drafted in a row, and then seeing the Eagles leapfrog us to get Jordan Davis? Then, seemingly 5 minutes later, but I know it was probably 25 minutes later, your reaction to the Ravens sending Marquise Brown to Arizona in order to get pick 23. I appreciate you guys checking out this video if you're still listening. I'm sure there's been 50 reaction videos that were done before mine. Let me know what you think of my thoughts and perspectives on this, or if there's other people who are mentioning other elements. I think there's a long way to go in this draft. and the Ravens have set themselves up to hit another grand slam on Friday, if you ask me. I'll address the need for wide receiver in a video on Friday afternoon. I do think there is a need there. Now, keep in mind, however, the Ravens will probably address that need, some point thereafter, Friday night, because there's no reason why we can't pick a George Pickens at 45, Alec Pierce, or a Sky Moore, someone that can help across multiple levels of the field. I still think there's a need to draft an edge player who can rotate in. The strategic decision that the Ravens made, if you ask me, by addressing offensive line in the first round instead of addressing edge defender, to me is the right one, because they're addressing their biggest asset, which is Lamar Jackson, and the run game, which is still going to be a big, aspect, a big element to the Ravens offense. To me, it was the right thing to do. You may disagree. You may have wanted us to take Jermaine Johnson. I understand that. I appreciate the way the Ravens did this. I believe there was probably at least 2, if not 3 other plans in place to be used if different players were there. If Charles Cross was there at 14, I think we were taking Charles Cross. And then probably getting Dax Hill or Jalen Petre later on in the first round. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are to my perspectives and my comments in this video, and what you think of how the Ravens have started off this draft.